Oh, I just mentioned before I stopped sharing some of the archives and sources I used, in case you're wondering how I pulled together all the different pieces. Obviously, I used my local county record office. There's a huge collection of letters for their family friend, Lady Camelford, Anne Pitt, at the British Library. I also found references via the Discovery Catalogue on the National Archives to other letters at East Sussex Record Office, London Metropolitan Archives, and also records relating to Roger Martin's time in India at the British Library collection of Family in British India collection. There are several published works, including the biography I mentioned, but also published letters of the Nelson family, the handbills themselves, and various other sources, such as these records, the diary of Elizabeth Jones, née Helsham, estate records, manorial records, maps, newspapers and wills. So I'm going to stop there with the commercial plug, and I'll stop sharing and take any questions or comments. And thank you very much for listening.
Oh, well, thank you very much. What happened to Henry Blythe?
Oh, well, he carried on living in the village. He had his own family. He carried on. He was a curate of that parish, but he also became involved with other parishes. His brother was a clergyman and a vicar of a neighbouring parish. So he carried his business as normal, really. I just wonder if they ever sort of crossed the street to avoid speaking to each other. I mean, unfortunately, there's no surviving evidence that I can find of what actually happened at that moment after that declaration and that challenge. I suspect they had to come to some kind of compromise, because as long as Henry continued as curate, which he did for several more years that I can see, they would have had to have some dealings with each other, but it could have been a bit frosty, I suspect. And one of the other things I haven't mentioned there that I did come across is that there's a bit of a scandal in his family about illegitimacy as well, which is quite interesting. That's another story.
Any questions, anybody?
Have you put us on that we can speak?
Yes.
Yeah. We can always do that.
Yeah, you can, yeah. And did Ellen get married? You said she got married. Who did she marry?
Oh, she married a chap called Thomas Overman, and their descendants are still in the area. They continue to have the hall until quite recently. In fact, it stayed in the family.
So it was the same hall that Martin lived in?
Yeah. It was left in trust, and Mary Ann continued to live there after Roger died. It then went to, after Mary Ann died, it went to the nephew Bulkley Glass, but he sold it to Ellen's husband.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I didn't mention that bit, but yes, that's what happened. He sold it to Ellen's husband, so Ellen continued to live there and became the lady of the manor.
Yeah.
Even though, as I say, there's no official documentation that says she was Roger's daughter, I think we can safely assume she was.
It just shows, though, looking at all these different sources, sort of puts, adds to your family history rather than just have the dates. If you look at all these other, manorial records and wills and so on.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I think that's it's worth pursuing records like this, and a lot of these letters have not been published, but you can find similar collections across the countryside. Some are published. Is that even if your ancestors didn't get involved in such events directly, or if there's no surviving records, that these can give you insights into the attitudes of the time and show there's a lot of these sort of the correspondence in particular, they are talking about lots of local residents, other people are referenced and referred to. But I think we definitely see a very different sensibility and attitude towards, you know, it's all about public saint, private sinner, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's very much the case. It's fine what you did as long as it wasn't out there in the public. And him taking his lady friend that's sitting next to her in the family pew was definitely not a respectable thing to do.
If it hid her at home, that would be okay.
Exactly. They could just keep pretending she was just his housekeeper.
Yeah, they were all hypocrites. Well, I suppose people are today as well, really.
There's definitely a certain amount of hypocrisy. I do think it's interesting to compare how people seem to react to, mind you, I suppose Lady Hamilton got quite a lot of disapproval as well, but how it's very interesting because they both these men had illegitimate children in that neighbourhood, and I think it's
very often the women who come off worse, though.
Yes, very much so. Yes. Yeah.
Anybody else? No? In that case, I think we will thank Jill very kindly for her talk. Been very interesting. Certainly makes you wonder about the stories that are hidden in archives.
Well, yes. You never know what you might come across when you're doing a piece of research. But thank you very much for inviting me. I'll leave you for the rest of your meeting I don't know if you carry on, but
oh, I suspect they'll natter.
Okay, right. Well, I shall say goodbye for now then. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Great.